Alright fellas, here we go. This is a 5.2. Now what's weird is it's actually a 5 front and a 2 rear. The reason being is, in the front, the wheel arches are actually like 3 or 4 inches higher than the ones in the rear. It's weird. So, I've got this baby jacked up. We're going to be popping the moons off, and we're going to be pulling the wheels and starting to strip down the suspension. Now this kit is from Spindle Source, relatively new company. Let me see if I got a sticker here. Pretty sure I do. Like most things, it's in my hoodie. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Spindle Source. Now, basically this isn't a kit. We sort of made a kit because most of the kits are like 3.5 or 4.6, 5.6, 5.7. We actually needed a bigger front than a rear, but we called them up. They hooked us up. So, giving them a nice big shout out. It's all Spindle Source stuff. These are 2-inch drop spindles, 3-inch drop springs, that's our 5, and 2-inch drop shackles. Also come with drop shocks, and ours actually didn't require drop shocks in the rear because we're only going down 2 inches. But it is for a 05 Ram. So, because all this under this is 05 Ram. So let's get breaking this stuff down and get this started. Now, in order to do the drop like we are going to be doing, you will have to remove basically everything. Sometimes, if you're just doing drop springs, you can pop the top ball joint loose, drop it down, and pull the spring out if you got a spring compressor. But in our case, since we're replacing spindle, spring, shock, it's all got to come out. You will have to drop your sway bar link, your tie rod, upper and lower ball joints will have to be broke loose. You will have to remove the caliper and bracket completely. Unbolt it from the back there, just hang it up top. Spring is basically what we're going to do. So after we remove everything and have the ball joints free, we're going to allow the spring to drop and pop out basically. But we're not going to let it pop and fly. We'll pull the shock and we'll put a pry bar down in between it and the hole where the shock bolts, and once we drop it, it'll pop, but it won't fling out. So that's the dangerous way of doing things. Yeah, but take it off, bottom one down here, gotta come off. Back here, the bracket's gotta unbolt, move all that off, and then drop it down, pull the spring. Shouldn't be too hard as long as our upper ball joints are good and our tie rods are good. Tie rods are good. Ball joints are fine. We shouldn't have a problem. We will clean up all this stuff here that's got the grass and stuff on it before we put it back on, blow it all off and out. And also, this type of spindle, you will have to reuse your hub bearing. 3 bolts back here unbolt, and your hub comes off. Then you just replace the drop spindle, replace the drop spindle with the hub and start reassembling everything after you replace it. Now, taking it off is going to be a lot harder than putting it on because the spring is under pressure. What you could do is if you got some OA torches, you can, well, it's oxyacetylene, you can heat it up and that'll basically pop off easy. It'll collapse on itself. You can use a plasma cutter and cut it, but I wouldn't recommend it because your hands are going to be in the way. Or you can use a spring compressor. If we have one, I'm not sure. We'll find out and then we'll use it. Unless you're skilled and have done this before, I don't recommend doing this without a spring compressor. But as you can see, I've got the jack pushing up on the truck. Now that puts weight on the coil spring. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the lower control arm, or the ball joint bolt, and then I'm going to let the jack down, and it's going to let the bottom control arm here swing down, and it's going to pop that spring down. Now the shock is actually still bolted in, so it won't go down far. In fact, I'm going to have to bust it loose. Now I think about it, I'll have to take the top bolt off and it'll drop down. But you definitely want to put some sort of safety bar through the coil down through the hole. Because if not, boom, it will shoot. It has a lot of pressure on it. Very dangerous. I don't recommend you doing this way. No, do not. Get a coil spring compressor. Do it that way. Rent one if you have to. Don't do it this way. Now I'm going to tell you this again. Do not do this way. I'm a crazy boy, okay? Do not. This is bad. This is not the proper way. As you can see, I have a pry bar stuck down through here. And that is for my safety. Everything is unbolted. Soy bar is loose. Loose-ish. And now I'm going to let this thing down. Now, for my safety, I'm not going to record this because I want to be able to move quick. But, yeah. I'm going to let it down. Hopefully I show you the next part and not me in the hospital. Alright, that stressful part's over. It didn't fling out, it was good. Alright, I actually had to step on it. And it was basically loose already. Talk about make your heart skip a beat. Alright. Now let's take a look here at the difference between the two. Now, these are supposed to be 3-inch. They don't really look like 3-inch, but probably is. You definitely need to put the insulator on the new one. So, skittish. Alright, now all I have to do is reverse the entire process. New springs, new shocks, new spindles. Back on. And it will be 5 inches lower. On this side anyway. But yeah. Not too bad. Came off pretty quick. I have to still unbolt that hub. Put it on the new spindle. Make sure not to cut this wire right here. That is for your ABS. Do not cut that. Need that. Scared me. Alright. But yeah, pretty easy. Pretty straightforward. You guys can tell. It's pretty easy. Unbolt everything. I put the jack there after I loosened the upper and lower ball joint. Jacked it up. Then took them off. Pulled off that because that will actually lift off of the upper control arm. So you lift, or it'll fall off. Both of them are down. So it just comes straight down off. Easy. Then you let the jack down slowly to spring come out. Easy peasy. Alright. Let's get back at it. Alright, now to swap the spindle stuff, it's as simple as them 3 bolts right there. And this one bolt right here, which holds your ABS line. So make sure you swap that onto here. Must be swapped. But this is the new spindle. These things weigh a ton. But I gotta switch everything from there to there. At this point, if there's anything wrong with your hubs or your ball joints, replace them first. Don't be a fool. But yes, definitely replace if your hub, ball joints, anything. But ours are all good. I basically just have to knock that off where I unbolted it, put it on here. You might have to wire wheel your hub a little bit if it's rusty like ours. Easy peasy though. There you go. All back on there. Now your original ones are aluminum. These are cast iron. These weigh about 60 pounds for both of them. They are heavy, so be careful. Now make sure when you're doing yours, do not get rid of the castle nuts or the cotter pins. You have to have them. Must have them. And then you're good to go. Just start bolting everything back in, reverse process. I'll show it to you after it's all back together. Okay, everybody. So, after he saw it in person, the owner, the drop was good in the front. The problem is first thing, the original Dodge suspension is very, very, very stiff. Like, I'm a big dude and I can get up there and jump up and down and it'll barely move. Okay? The front is a lot softer now because of the new springs are a different spring rate. So, before we go the 2-inch drop, we are going to remove what is known as the helper spring. That is that spring right there you see sticking out. It's 3/4 inch thick and makes the suspension really, really stiff in the rear. So, first I'm going to get the truck up in the air in the rear, and I am going to pull both sides of them out, put it back together. If after that, it don't lower it, well, we know it's going to go about 3/4 inch down, but at the same time, if it don't make it any softer, we'll probably then lower the truck the 2-inch that we got from Spindle Source. So, if we don't get what we're looking for out of that, Spindle Source, we'll be using their 2-inch drop. Comes with all that ready to go. So I'm going to jump at it here. So, after removing the leaf, it didn't really help much. So we're swapping out the rear shackles. These are the stocks. It has nothing L. It just looks like an L. It's just a scratch. Pretty easy to get out. Support your frame. Let your rear end hang. Use your jack to jack up the rear end to try to not have pressure on the bolt, and then pull the bolts. Mine came out wicked easy. So they come with new bolts, but my factories are perfect, so I'm going to reuse the factory bolts. Let's get these put on and get it back on the ground, see how it looks. The 5x2.5 is what we got now, because we removed the helper as I showed you, but it looks a million times better. Before, you had to jump into it. Now you could step right in there, easy peasy. Got to put the moon caps on after it's all done, put some trim back on,